welcome after a short break. Today I want to talk about free tier in Lakeflow Connect, Databricks One Mobile App, multi-table transactions, AI runtime, Databricks Asset Bundles, which is now Declarative Automation Bundles, new SQL Warehouse, and the Genie code. So let's start with the first topic. And this is really exciting news because Personally, I was complaining that Lakeflow Connect is too expensive, that there are a lot of additional charges, but that problem is finally solved because now it's free tier, and thanks to that free tier, this cost is much lower, and also this free is per day per workspace, and it's 100 DBUs. How much is 100 DBU? It's enough to enter at least 1 million records from SQL database, and it's applying to managed connectors. So actually, I was testing this with Confluence ingestion, and before, when I did experiments to ingest data from Confluence, in my opinion, it was a bit too expensive. During the experiment, I ran Lakeflow Connect job and pipeline 200 times. You can see here that it's a lot of runs. I did it 2 days ago. So every job run is executing ingestion pipeline from Confluence. I set it to import all of the pages, and I was creating a lot of just copy of pages in Confluence to import it. And when I looked to system tables, I can see that there was any charge from Lakeflow Connect. Actually, I would prefer to see entries here with 0 DBUs, but I think it's not working this way, that everything which is in billing table is only when billing occurred. So you have to pay for something, and actually there was nothing. So all 200 runs were totally free. So it's really amazing. So if you had some doubts regarding migration, for example, from Azure Data Factory to Databricks, I think now it's time to do that, because there are more and more connectors. Some of them are even ready in UI, but there are much more of them which can be deployed as a code, for example, by using Databricks Asset Bundles. And I think it's time to start migrating to Lakeflow Connect. And I know that there are a lot of new connectors coming. Yes, so just started. And also there is Zero Bus, which was added recently. And that one is also amazing because it's built per gigabyte. And now it's also promotion that it's 50% cheaper. So when you have to push data, for example, from on-prem, it's also amazing. Another update is related to Databricks One. So the mobile application were announced. So assets which are available in Databricks One, so dashboard, Genie, and I hope that also apps will be available through mobile application. And especially I'm happy if apps will be available, so it can be really amazing solution. But I was looking actually for app in Play Store, and it's not yet there. So probably we need to wait a bit. I hope that in few days it will be available. Maybe for iOS it can take more time, because usually to get your app to iOS store for iPhones, you need to wait a bit. Yes, with Android probably it will be faster. Yes, but it's really amazing that except web experience, now we will have mobile app. I hope that soon also desktop app for Windows. Another update is related to multi-statement transaction. I wrote an article about that with Benjamin, who is product manager behind that that multi-table transactions in Databricks. So I recommend everyone to read it, but I'm also going to show you a small demo. So if you have this multi-table transaction, I will make it bigger. You need to start with this begin atomic. And what is done is if, for example, the second one will fail, the first one will never succeed. So it's not like in classic programming or classic SQL that you execute one by one, but it's all is everything what you put in that block. It's like it's isolated, yes. And if anything failed there, everything will be rolled back, yes. So for example, if we will start that atomic transaction here, we will see how it's working. But first thing what is important is when we create that data set or the table which will be used for that atomic multi-table transaction, we need to set that that commits are managed by catalog. Why is that? Because in classic Delta, there is no such a functionality. It will just, another commit will be added to Delta log. And here Unity Catalog have to manage that commits to have possibility to roll back them, yes? So that feature is exclusively for SQL, exclusive for Databricks, because it's tied not to Delta, it's tied to Unity Catalog, yes? So you need to enable that commits are managed by Unity Catalog. And once you do that, and for example, we are adding first orders 1 to 3, and then we're making update. And I especially added here some X, so it should fail. Let's see it. Okay, it failed. So we'll see what happened with that order 1 to 3. So first we can select everything from the table orders and validate that it's not there because the second statement failed. Okay, so it was never there, but somehow the script passed it. So let's look to the storage. So actually in storage in Delta log, we can see that there is new folder stage commits. And in that folder, now it's 1 o'clock. Let's sort, but lost modified. So we see that there is stage commit from version 27, which never made to real Delta log. So it was written first in that stage commit directory. There is Parquet file which is linked to that, but that Parquet file was never included in Delta log, yes? And that version 27 was never promoted because when we go to Delta log, we can see that the most recent version is 26. So actually it stayed in that stage commit directory. So when the Parquet was created, so let's look to it. We see that here is that Parquet, but that Parquet is not linked to anything. Yes, it's like garbage after a multi-statement transaction failed. Yes, and here there is no new version. So let's see what happened if our entry succeed. So if our entry succeeds, so let's make it correct way. Okay, so I corrected that query and now it should work because I fixed the fields names. Okay, and it's okay, so we can verify that it's there in orders. Okay, so we have this 1, 2, 3, and if we look to storage, so let's go again to Delta log. We see that here is version 27, yes? So finally we have entry in history. So when the previous transaction failed, there is nothing in Delta log history of Delta table. And we can see that here that was created, yes? So when I go to Delta log and I go, to stage commits, we can see that here are files related to that 27, which were finally succeeded because I see that I had some failure before, so 27, and now we have a few multi statements that this 3 files, in fact, multi-statement, and normal JSON, yes, which were succeed. And once it succeed, there was a normal entry to Delta log. So in fact, it's when you look how it it works internally in Delta folder, it looks quite simple. I think the biggest challenge was to rebuild Delta engine, because now we have that system, that Unity catalog is synchronizing that commits. And we finally have multi-statement transaction in Lakehouse, and I think it's really amazing, especially for productions use cases, because often I see that we have few inserts related to each other in production. For example, sometimes the last insert or update is related also to some log table. So maybe it's good to bring everything in isolation, everything together. Okay, another update is related to new runtime. Yes, we have new runtime, which is called AI runtime. It's only serverless, and maybe it will stay like this. I hope that in future it will be also for normal compute. But if you select GPU, so this accelerator, then you have possibility to choose here from environments. Actually, I would call it environment, because it's just a different environment. It's not actually runtime exactly. So here we have that new environment, and when we click here, we can see what is included in that. So in fact, it's Docker with pre-installed all like tools used for AI. So we have LangChain, we have OpenAI, and we have Torch, and a lot of other ones which are really popular for GPU use cases. Yes, so if you want to use GPU, of course, it's really convenient, because you need to use any of these tools to utilize GPU. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to use that GPU at all. Okay, another update is related to Genie code. So let's say that I will close these files, and Assistant was really improved. And why is that name change? The name change is because this is not only Assistant anymore, it's aware of your file structure of your data sets. So especially when we compare with other tools which are now popular on the market, the biggest benefit for me is that it knows my file structure. Yes, when I work as a developer, for example, even on my asset bundles, because I really like actually how it's behaving with asset bundles, because when I have simple bundles, it's aware about structure. And so let's say something to Genie code. So please create placeholder notebook in source folder, and add it as a job to resource folder in my bundle. So let's try it. Okay, so it's analyzing that structure. So it listed files in that engine folder. Okay, it took a while, but it created the files and folders for me. And now we can review the whole project according to my instructions. So first of all, we see that in that Databricks YAML file, it added resource folder. So it's really good. Let's review next. So then it added folder with example notebook. Looks good. Accept. Review next. And it added a job to run that notebook, so it looks good. Yes. So Actually, I really like how it's behaving with bundles because there are some standard like unnamed standard that we use these folders like for test resources, and you can just instruct it and it will create the resources for you. And for example, now if you want to add some things like timeouts and some other things to your YAML, you can just write it and it will add it. Yes. So actually, it's a really nice way to work on your project, and I think you don't need any additional tools now, and you can work fully through web interface. And when we are at bundles, another update is related to engine. Yes. So first of all, there is change in name. So dApps is no longer Databricks Ascent Bundles. It's now Declarative Automation Bundles. Shortcut is remaining the same, fortunately. But the biggest change is this migration to direct engine. That direct engine is not using Terraform, yes, so it's much more faster and it's allowing Databricks to add more and more resources under that direct engine. So I encourage everyone to migrate to it. If you want to, for your bundle from when you create from scratch, you can specify engine here. But if for some reason you want to have targets with other engine, you can still specify Terraform. So maybe you, for development environment, you can have multiple targets, one with engine direct and other with engine Terraform to compare the result. But from my experience, the direct engine is working really good. Yes. So I really recommend to everyone to specify here engine direct. And one thing which is important is that it's from version 295 0. Yes, so to avoid problem, because it will not work in lower CLI version, you always need to specify CLI version here. So this way you will get error if you use all the runner, for example, use older version. So specify here before you will start using a direct engine here. And I think our last update is related to SQL Warehouse. So when we go to SQL Warehouse and we click Create, we have a new SQL Warehouse which is really big. It's 5x large. So that SQL Warehouse is really expensive because it's 1,000 over 1,000 DBUs per hour. It's costing around 30,000 USD per month if you run it constantly, and it consists of 512 workers. So always, I think if you want to use it, I think it's better to deploy it through Databricks Asset Bundles or Terraform, because then you can set auto termination to 1 minute. Here in UI, you need to set at least 5, and use it only because it's really big and really expensive when you have to process data which is in terabytes. So if you have anything smaller than terabytes, don't use it. And even if you have data in terabytes, just use it when you need to process the whole data set. So for example, you do some merge or join without pruning of unnecessary data, because for example you can't. Yes, there are some such a situation, but except that I don't see much reasons for use it, because usually, for example, if you have a lot, it's still like for big data set, because if you have, for example, a lot of users of your Power BI, for example, it's always usually better to choose some small one. But for example, if there is a lot of user to have more clusters here. So for example, auto scale to more clusters to handle more users. So, but it's good to know that it's here for some extreme use cases. That's all news in this week. I'm planning to record another video next week because we have some smaller updates also to cover. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.